Let me let you in on a secret that I only learned by living it. When you leave a toxic relationship, your brain reacts in a way that no one warns you about. And if you don't understand this, the whole recovery process feels broken. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly why, as well as the dynamics behind it that's used in gambling and other addictive processes. Hi, my name's Samantha Folio, and I present Enchanted Mirror. I didn't realize why this was happening to me until I had to turn off Facebook messages on my phone, because every time I heard the bling from Facebook messages, my brain would light up and I would think about my ex-boyfriend that was extremely toxic and diagnosed professionally as antisocial personality disorder, which is a sociopath. When I would hear that ding from Facebook messages, it wasn't emotional, it was physical. With the highs and the lows of the relationship, my brain was conditioned to feel a certain way whenever that message would come in. I could be in another room and I could be doing something completely unrelated, and that sound would cut straight through my body. My heart jumped, my attention snapped, and the person wasn't even in my life anymore. That's when I finally understood something that changed how I saw the entire recovery process. That reaction had nothing to do with missing him or somebody. It was a cue. My nervous system had learned that sound meant something: connection, relief, information, a possible emotional shift. Even after I left, my brain still treated that sound like a reward. That was my first real clue that this wasn't heartbreak. It was conditioning. Here's what most nobody explains clearly. Toxic relationships don't wire your brain through love. They wire it through contrast, with the high highs, low lows, the intensity, then the withdrawal, then relief. Over and over again, your nervous system doesn't organize itself around safety. It organizes itself around anticipation, around scanning, around waiting for the next emotional signal. You start reading tone, timing, silence, micro changes in the energy, not because you're insecure, because your brain is learning pattern recognition. That's not romance, that's training. This is where gambling comparison comes in. Slot machines don't hook people because they pay out consistently. They hook people because the payout is random. You pull the lever, nothing happens. You pull the lever, nothing happens. You pull the lever, nothing happens. Then suddenly you pull the lever, reward, you win. That's a huge spike in your brain. Not because the reward is big, but because the timing is unpredictable. That unpredictability is what wires the loop. Casinos also train people through cues, lights, sounds, near wins, tiny signals that train the brain. Maybe this time. That's why my Facebook message sound mattered. It wasn't the person, it was the cue. In toxic relationships, the cues are different, but the mechanism is the same. A tone shift, a sudden softness, a delayed reply, a short apology, a look, a small moment of warmth after tension. Your brain starts associating tiny signals with the possibility of relief. Just like a gambler reads a machine. I want to show you something for a second. When I started writing the Mirror memoir, I noticed something strange. It reads like a textbook, but it's a textbook written from inside lived experience, my lived experience. I wasn't documenting a relationship, I was documenting what my nervous system was doing after I left. The triggers, the cues, the cravings, the emotional flatness, the restlessness, the silence. That's how I eventually understood this wasn't sadness. It was withdrawal, like a drug addict. And here's the real secret. When you leave abuse, you're not only ending a relationship, you're interrupting a neurological loop. Your brain learned to regulate itself through emotional volatility, through the swing, through unpredictability. So when that volatility suddenly disappears, your nervous system doesn't feel calm. It feels disoriented, flat, restless, understimulated. That's why leaving can feel closer to detox than grief. Not sadness, agitation, mental noise, compulsive checking, craving stimulation, craving contact, craving anything that creates a spike. Your brain isn't missing the person. It's reacting to the removal of the pattern, the dopamine it released whenever the good times happened, and the adrenaline whenever you were being devalued. And this is important for me to say clearly. I wasn't sad when I left. I was relieved. I was happy I got out, but my body didn't match my decision. My body still reacted to cues, still searched for stimulation, still felt uncomfortable in the quiet. What confused me most was how fast my brain went looking for intensity, not comfort, intensity. I would finish something simple like answering an email or cleaning and feel restless for no reason. My body wanted a spike, not peace. This is the part people avoid saying out loud. A lot of people go back not because they suddenly forgot how bad it was. They go back because withdrawal is uncomfortable. Not dramatic, not romantic. It's uncomfortable. This is why people reopen conversations, reread old messages, check social media, replay the story, create reasons to make contact. Not because they want the person, because their nervous system wants the familiar signal. That isn't weakness, it's conditioning. And this is where the recovery conversation usually gets dishonest. Everyone celebrates the moment you leave. No one really stays for the part where your brain is learning to exist without the emotional chaos. The quiet part, the flat part, the part where normal life feels strangely empty. Not because it actually is, because your brain was calibrated to intensity. Here's one thing that actually helped me break the loop in real time. Not spiritually, not emotionally, mechanically. When I felt the urge to check, scroll, reopen messages, or mentally replay something, I stood up and I walked. Even 5 minutes, no phone, no music, just movement. Because the craving wasn't emotional, it was physiological. Movement interrupts the loop. It gives your nervous system a new input. That mattered more than thinking my way out of it. What actually helped me wasn't one video. It was immersion. I watched every narcissistic abuse video that I could find. I read book after book. I joined multiple narcissistic support groups. I joined CODA. I walked constantly. I used supplements. I had researched for myself. I don't, really, I recommend you research. I'm not going to say go ahead and take these, but this is what I did. This is what helped me along my journey. I took lithium oronate and ashwagandha. They're not cures, but as support, and they really did help me. I rebuilt my nervous system from the inside with information, community, movement, repetition. A lot of what eventually became the Mirror Memoir came out of that phase. Not healing, deprogramming, documenting from abuse, what actually it feels like in the body. If this video finally explained what your body has been doing ever since you left, that's exactly why I wrote the Mirror Memoir. Not as a healing guide, not as inspiration, but as real-time record of what it actually looks like to dismantle the conditioning loop after abuse. It's linked in the description if you want to go deeper. And if this explanation helped you understand yourself even a little bit more clearly, then please subscribe. Join the reflections. We do a lot here. We have mirror moments, weekly reflections, live reflections, mirror meditations. This channel exists to explain what actually happened to you without soft language and without pretending it was just emotional. You're not missing your abuser. You're dismantling a conditional loop. And your body, not just your mind, has to learn that new pattern. That's the part that no one talks about. That's the secret. And I'm so glad that you're here. And thank you so much for joining me. If this resonated, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your story. Give me a like, subscribe. I'd love to see you back here. And thank you for becoming a part of the Reflections, where we learn to see ourselves clearly.